Morning. How's it going, everybody? Just gonna double check that the streams are good, the level's good. Seeing if the YouTube stream kicks in fine. Yesterday's experiment seemed to go well. Seems like the YouTube stream is kicking in now, which is great. Interesting, it takes a little longer for the YouTube stream to kick up than on Facebook. But neither is instantaneous. It's all good. We're up and running now. It is Friday. Welcome to Mornings with Mark, episode 23. 23. As always, you can hit me up, Mark NCA. Online, happy to chat, shoot the breeze, see what's going on, discuss any of the issues we're talking about here on the show. Weird one today. Well, not necessarily weird, but one that may be touchy. Now I'm going to pull this up in my browser just to make sure. So there was an article on CBC this morning that said, so CBC News, I'll link to it below. Spy agency chief says new powers would help stop cyber attacks before they happen. So this is for Canada. The head of the CSE, which is our one of our main spy agencies. They are also responsible for cybersecurity within the government of Canada. That is an responsibility that is expanding based on the latest federal budget, which is great. That's excellent. They should absolutely be in charge of defense. They are arguing that they want more powers so that they can go on the offense. Now, if we look at the other models, most prominent being the Americans, the NSA in the States is responsible for both offense and defense. Let's just say that they don't have a stellar record. Eternal Blue, the entire eternal set of exploits that were behind WannaCry, NotPetya, a number of other outbreaks it's rumored came from there. I think it's a definitive conflict of interest that you cannot be responsible for both offense and defense, because unlike in hockey where a good two-way center is invaluable and you'll pay through the nose for them, when it comes down to cybersecurity and cyber offense, that means vulnerabilities, that means 0 days, that means finding exploits. Defense is all about covering those up. So if your offense knows about them, it's not in their best interests to then push those out through responsible disclosure, which I'm a massive believer in, to get them resolved. So I think there's a direct conflict of interest there. They can't live within the same agency. It's difficult enough within the same interest, which in this case is the Canadian interest or the American interest or whoever's interest is in play. But that's not what I wanted to dive into so much detail here. What I wanted to take exception to, or what I do take exception to, is one of the numbers quoted in this article. So the head of the CSE, Greta Bosenmayer, came out and said the Canadian federal government is being hit up to 1 billion times a day. A billion. I had to just double check on them. 1 billion times a day. Holy crap, that's a lot. Or is it? And this is why I really got peeved, because they're saying there's 11,500 attacks per second on Canadian federal government systems. And while to people who aren't aware of the technical nuances, that sounds like an insane amount. That sounds like we are under constant barrage. Now, this is all coming from Lee Berthiaume's article, so I need to go in and review the testimony directly. I'm just looking at it right now, but essentially they said they're blocking over 1 billion malicious attempts to compromise government systems on average per day. That they told the committee, which could include everything from minor pokes to assess the strength of a system to malware to dedicated hacking. 1 billion attempts per day. So why does this frustrate me? This frustrates me because it's disingenuous. If you are unaware of the technical nuances, it sounds like a ridiculous amount. It sounds like a torrent of activity. It sounds like wave after wave of threat against government systems. And it may be, but it's most likely not. And this is where I think it's beholden to us with the knowledge, with the forensic capabilities to educate the public, in this case to educate the government, to let them know what the actual challenge is here. So I ran a quick test this morning. I spun up a server for an hour, and I left it wide open. It wasn't doing anything. It literally was running nothing other than the base OS. And I set up a bunch of rules around the firewall within that server to log every connection attempt. I filtered out my personal attempts, and guess what? I was attacked. I was attacked constantly. In fact, over the course of the day, if I left that server up and running, I would have been attacked 14,500 times. That's one attack every 6 seconds. It's a lot, isn't it? It's not. It's background noise. So when you do the math, actually, just based on this random background noise, it turns out that if the 1 billion figure is true, and the numbers generally scale, and based on my experience they generally do, if the government has about 70,000 servers, which it does, this is just background noise. 1 billion attempts per day could be absolute background noise. And the flip side of this is that these are attempts that you know about, which means you blocked them, which means your defenses did the job. So why do you need to freak out about these? Because you've logged them. That means your firewall saw them or your IPS system saw them and stopped them, and so you know about them. The ones that you don't know about are the real problem, or more important is the stat that the government pushes out every year about the number of data breaches that it incurred, whether from malicious intrusions or whether from pure accident. That is a far more important stat, and last time I checked, that was hovering around 5,000 incidents per year. I'll pull up that and I'm going to write this up, maybe push it out as an op-ed somewhere. Really depends, but it's frustrating because this is a challenge. We're seeing this at the nation level, and I'm calling this out simply because of the CBC article, but this is a challenge that CISOs face every day when they're trying to go in and talk to their board, and they're trying to give metrics about the value of what they do. What do they do? What's the value to what you bring? And they pull up this crazy number, right? In this case, 1 billion attempts per day. It doesn't mean anything. It's not a valuable metric. And if you're measuring this or you're trying to use this to scare people, you're actually doing yourself a disservice because there are far more valuable metrics that you could be tracking. There are far more impactful metrics, like number of citizen records that were at threat based on data breaches. That's a huge thing, but that won't support the case of trying to go out and argue for more offensive capabilities. Now, don't get me wrong. I fully support the agency's current assigned mission. Or let me rephrase this. I fully support the agency, given their current assigned mission, arguing for more resources. This is the same thing that we want law enforcement to do. So law enforcement, RCMP, arguing about the fact that they need the ability to break encryption. I like the fact that they're arguing for that. I completely disagree with them, and I would not support it in a second, but it's their job to argue for as many tools as they can to accomplish the mission they've been given. What we as citizens need to do is ensure that they've been given the right mission and that they have rules and laws, they have laws and regulations and policies in place to make sure they execute that mission within the parameters we want. So it's multi-layered, multifaceted here, but what really ticked me off this morning was this 1 billion number. Because I'll tell you, my little server that's doing nothing, doesn't even have information of value on it, was getting attacked 15,000 times per day. So if I put up something with value, I'm sure it would get attacked more. This is just a background noise of the internet. So it's a scary number. It's meant to scare. It doesn't mean squat. So what do you think about metrics? Metrics are a whole different ball of wax. Very difficult to pull off effectively, have been a challenge since the institution of security teams within organizations. Let me know, Mark NCA. Hit me up in the comments down below. Love to hear your thoughts on this because I know it's a contentious issue. Listen to me on a Friday. I'm getting a little riled up on it myself. I can only imagine your reaction. Let's discuss. Hit me up and we'll talk it through. I think it's a really important thing and we absolutely need to hash this out. Have a great day and have an excellent weekend. We'll see you on Monday.